I know for me, when I have a conversation with a producer that's finding success, I'm asking very specific questions as to what their process was, what steps they took. In the comment section, someone just comments, "Come on, guys, selling beats online is dead. It's impossible." That's a very stupid opinion. However, clearly, this person wants to, anyone who's browsing through the comment section, instill doubt in their heads, demotivate them. No intro banner this time. What's going down? It's DJ Payne 1. This is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast powered by Beatstars. We've officially hit episode 73. I'm trying to make every episode special. And as you can see, Dame is pretty excited for episode number 73 today. I think that number holds some special significance to him. Isn't that right?
No, but I'm feeling good. I got my Alexander Nate shirt on. He's a really dope independent artist that I'm not a fan of. Like, I'm not a fan of that many artists. I don't even really listen to that much music anymore.
We're off to a positive start.
Yeah, but Alexander Nate is definitely one that I am a fan of, that I root for. I know him and I've met him. I root for him from afar. I don't know why he doesn't put out more music, but the music that he does drop, I'm definitely a fan of. So that's why I'm rocking the shirt today.
So you were just telling me about all the amazing things happening on Clubhouse, and I still don't have access to Clubhouse. So
for the people that do have access to Clubhouse, the MEC is now officially a club on Clubhouse. I'm going to be hosting Share Your Win Sundays every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and that's just a session for people to share whatever they got accomplished in the past week, whether it's big or small. So basically what happens is somebody will share their win from the past week, and we can either just celebrate it, congratulate it. So either celebrate it, the person can educate us on the win, on how they got that win, or people in the room can help give ideas to build on that win going forward. So it's all just motivation, education, celebration, and some positive vibes going into the next week. So it's basically the concept that I have in the Facebook group now in audio experience.
So that's a really positive thing that you have going on, this regular share your wins concept, which is, encouraging, it's generous. All of these amazing things are at its foundation. I have a question for you, Dame. I need some Dame insight. Maybe this is where you put your psychology cap on.
That's why I'm here, Payne.
We know, obviously, that the internet is full of trolls, right? And trolls just don't care. They just want to get a rise out of people.
Right. There's
an entirely different contingent of internet users that I can't even put in the troll category. Because trolls want reactions, and they don't really have much of a purpose other than getting a rise out of people. They don't actually. That's why everyone's always calling, Trump a troll, because I don't think he actually stood for anything. He just wanted to piss people off all the time. There's this other group who has a very specific goal with their use of the internet, and that is to discourage others. And I don't know what to call them. Maybe demotivational speakers or something. They're the people in the comment section of every Instagram post, every YouTube video, Twitch stream, etc., telling you can't do something, telling you that whatever is in the the video's content or the post content is impossible. We actually had that happen within the last hour on our Instagram page, where I posted a screenshot of one of my tweets that was some tips that I had for newer producers, and the post asked for people to share, some tips and some wisdom that they've learned throughout their pursuit of their music careers. And of course, someone with one follower, a private profile, and no photo comments, "That's impossible. It's all about who you know. This is a waste of time." That's not a troll. A troll is Payne one's a bitch and he's ugly. This is something very specific. This is meant to catch the attention of anybody on that post that was maybe getting motivated by it and maybe saying, "Oh, that's a good tip," and redirecting them towards a really negative state of mind, completely sucking their motivation. and it's big in the producer community. There are guys saying YouTube is dead. You can't sell beats because beat keywords are saturated, and the only producers are winning either started back when the internet was brand new, or they're somehow buying their way into all of this. So even when I interview somebody like Oh Boy, who built his YouTube following organically within the last 2 years, or Mike Trampy from Beatstars, when he's talking about ways that you can specifically advertise your tracks, that's apparently just some elaborate lie, according to these people. So there might be producers who are there who are like, oh yeah, that's interesting. And then here come these people to jump between them and the source of some positivity and say, no. None of that works. You are a failure. You're always going to be a failure. And I got, so this is why I say it's this really, it's not accidental. It's not trolling. It's not like somebody just is waking up on the wrong side of the bed and they decide to post this comment. There's a comment that I shared on YouTube because it was so ridiculous. It was from YouTube. I shared it on Twitter, and it was in response to one of the videos that I post, every week. I feel really fortunate to be in a position where I think both of us should feel this way, where, twice a week, our free music business mentorship program shares exclusive information and really higher level conversations with everybody through Beatstars Live. And I think it was with the Oh Boy interview. I mean, either way, we get really specific in our conversations with people, and really, rather than just say, oh yeah, that's cool. So you're successful. Let's move on to the next question. I know for me, when I have a conversation with a producer that's finding success, I'm asking very specific questions as to what their process was, what steps they took. So in the comment section, someone just comments, come on guys, selling beats online is dead. It's impossible. Like, okay, that's a very stupid opinion. However, clearly this person wants to negate everything that's in the video, shit on the producer I'm interviewing. And in addition, anyone who's browsing through the comment section, instill doubt in their heads, demotivate them, make them insecure about themselves. So I share that on Twitter because I think it's just really something that people need to start calling out and being aware of. And Adam Ivy, who you have had on the MEC a couple of times, said, oh yeah, that guy is on my channel doing that all the time. I blocked him. So there are people who take this so seriously that is kind of their calling in life, to discourage other people from pursuing their music careers. So Dr. Dame, what is behind this psychology of people who spend so much energy trying to shatter dreams and spread negativity in a very specific and calculated way?
Well, I really don't think it's about like demotivating other people. I think it's obviously their experience. They haven't been successful and they're pursuing something probably publicly because people probably knew that they were trying to become a successful producer, successful artist. And they failed at it. It's a very hard thing to do to get to a point where you can make money in music. And I think most people are going to fail. And I think he's or she is only posting through their lens because they've been unsuccessful, obviously. And I think it's just entirely frustrating when you think you're going to be something, you're going to have a particular occupation in life, and maybe you've invested so much time and money over the years, and it just hasn't worked out for you. And it's probably because either you're not good enough at what you do, or you just haven't found your target audience, or you just haven't found your branding. And they're only speaking from their own frustration and pain and hurt that they haven't been able to So, and they can't fathom, because they've been in their own world, that they can't fathom like why other people are being successful, right? And I think they get to this point where they don't really want answers. They want to justify their failures, right? They're not looking for education to start moving. They're looking for excuses to justify why they're in the position that they're in. And I think that's why you see a lot of the comments you see. I fortunately have, I mean, I've been a part of teams that have been successful, and I've worked with successful artists. So I know what's possible, right? Comments like what you just said are similar to the ones that say, you can't make money in streaming. I get streaming checks every month. Like, you can't tell me that. Like, I know artists that get good streaming checks every month. If you've seen it, if you've been exposed to it, then you know that there's a possibility. But if you're stuck in your own lane and you've never been around people that have been successful and you haven't tasted any success yourself, then you're going to say it's not possible, because, your ego needs to believe that. Your ego needs to believe that. So I feel bad for those people, and I don't really think it's about demotivating other people. It's about dealing with the pain and frustration that you haven't been successful yet. You haven't been able to figure it out. And instead of looking for ways to be successful, you're trying to justify your failure. And that's,
well, if you have time to leave these comments on multiple social media profiles, you have time to make better beats, or I don't know, stop complaining. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think you're right. I was at that point, actually, when I first joined Beatstars. I was at that point where I'm like, there's no way this is even viable for me. I'm not. Nah. People are they're talking about they're making a good living off of using the Beatstars platform. I'm not seeing it at all. I'm getting like 3 sales a month. There's no way. And you're right. I wasn't around anybody. I was around people who were telling me it was possible, but I didn't take the initiative to be shown that it was possible. And it wasn't until Abe hired me to moderate their summit. I guess I don't even know I don't think it was called the summit. It was just a panel a series of panels at A3C, where I actually spent time with the people that like Beat Demons and Dream Life, who were actually making a living doing it and seeing it happen. Like, okay, now it's real to me. It wasn't real before. So in my head, I was thinking, yeah, this is not possible, until I saw it, for myself. Yeah. But what I didn't do is I didn't go on their YouTube channels and say, "Nah, this is crazy. Nah, there's no way. You guys are liars. No one is actually," because you have to do a lot of psychological work to believe in your heart that the someone like me or any of these producers out there that are claiming they're making a living doing this are spending hours of their time just lying to people. But think about it's crazy.
I think the public component is crucial, right? Like, because if you in your town are known as that person that's pursuing, or even in your family, or in your friend group, like, you are the one that has decided to pursue music full time, and you're not making progress. And they've seen your Facebook posts over the year. They've seen your pictures of you in the studio over the years, and you eventually like come to realize, like, this isn't working out for me. It's probably embarrassing, because you still got those pictures up on Facebook, on social media, and you have to tell people. Well, you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to tell people why you weren't successful, but you're gonna have to pivot. So I think because it's in the public eye a lot of the time, it just kind of adds to the frustration. It makes you do like some weird things. It's a huge ego hit. So yeah, it's unfortunate, man. But I see the same stuff in the comedy world now. Like, I'm telling people how, we're monetizing Facebook and YouTube, and people are telling me, you can't really do it like that. And I'm like, well, hold on. Ja has probably 400 videos under his belt now that he's been dropping consistently. He used to drop like 12 to 13 videos a month. So he was almost like every other day. And they were shorter videos because he started on Instagram, and then he started doing longer form content because you get paid more for longer form content on Facebook and YouTube. And I'm like, well, hold on. Like, so one, we're doing this. And number two, it's like, how many videos are you sitting on? Like, how many videos have you posted consistently, over the past 4 or 5 years? And typically it's nowhere near what Ja has done. So I'm like, okay, you have to build your talent up for sure. They have to be funny videos, but like, show me 400 funny videos you've dropped consistently over the past couple of years, and then say, okay, it didn't work, right? But don't not do the work and just tell me it's not going to work. Like, you haven't done shit. So it happens in a lot of different areas online. It's with people not willing to do the work. Of course, it doesn't work if you haven't if you're not willing to put in that work.
Yeah. So I guess your advice is just put in the work, and I don't know. I mean, I cringe when
Here's the thing. For somebody that I thought was talented, I've never seen somebody I thought was really talented and consistently put out content not have any type of success. I've never seen it.
Well, that second part is the key. I mean, I've seen people who are ridiculously talented, and you hear from them once every year, every 2 years. But what I cringe is when people, regardless of their talent level, are talking about, we've talked about this before, going public with everything they're doing kind of in theory, like, I'm about to be big this year, or watch out for my name. I mean, it's dope when you see somebody that's big now do that. Like, you'll pull up a tweet from, I don't know, from like Metro Boomin. I don't know if it exists, but pull up a tweet from him 6 years ago saying, one day I'm going to be a household name or something. You're like, oh my God, he called it. He predicted it. He believed in himself, but he's an exception. And so it's just kind of one of those things where you think, man, I remember doing that stuff when I was a little greener, and then I learned to just shut up. And if something happens, I'm going to celebrate it. If nothing happens, cool. No one even knew, because there are way more failures. I mean, I'm failing every single day, and I'll be damned if I'm going to go on Twitter and take back 10 things every single day that I was excited about. So I just stopped doing it.
Yeah, no, I mean, people get motivated certain ways. Like, if you really feel like you need to do that, maybe to put pressure on yourself to reach your goal, that's fine. But through my experience, a lot more people do that than actually are winning. Like, I used to see it a lot more. This year X is going to happen. This year, and I've done it in some capacity, but like, when I do it, it's based in, like, I see our trends going up. Like, I see, like, it's just not coming out of nowhere. Success doesn't typically just come out of nowhere, right? Like, you see exponential growth, and now that we have these metrics, to see our number of followers go up, to see our comments go up, to see the amount of people that reach out for interviews, start to go up, amount of sponsorships are starting to go up. Like, it's bubbling. It's starting to build. So, if I'm seeing that, then I feel comfortable about the next year, because if we continue doing the work, why would that stop? And if we're getting more opportunities, and more people want to interview Ja, and more people are asking for him to be in their movies, and they're like, that gives me a lot of confidence that as long as he does well at these things, it's going to continue to increase. Sure. I might say something like, I feel like good things are going to happen. But I've never done anything like, hey, we're about to take over the industry in next year, or anything crazy like that.
Well, please do, so I can comment about how impossible it is for a new comedian to gain any traction. I took a whole bunch of time up talking about these trolls or whatever we're calling them. I know you wanted to talk more about the management conversation in your super cool elite VIP clubhouse room.
Yeah, it can be short, and if you're listening to this before 3 o'clock Pacific on Monday, so basically you have to listen to this right when it comes out. We're having an artist management roundtable discussion. This will be our third one, and it's free. It's a Zoom conversation. It's an opportunity for up and coming managers to network with some more experienced managers, and we're just sharing best practices and answering questions, because this tension between artist and manager, it's making it so a lot of smart managers and people that could be good managers, like they're leaving and running away as fast as they can. And it's unfortunate, but it makes sense though, because if you're really smart and you're really driven, you're not really excited about 20% of something. Right. And if you have to deal with the bullshit, like you have to deal with ego and bullshit, and you're only getting 20% of something, like it's hard to stay in there. Like if obviously when I was artist manager, I was also owner in the label. So, it's different financial incentives, and it protected me more. Right. Because a lot of times artist managers don't have protection. They could get fired at any time, and then maybe get what's left out of their sunset clause. But it's a tough position to be in if you're just a manager, because there's not much security in it. And that's why I also tell managers, like, look, you probably want to start developing some revenue streams outside of your management situations, and have, multiple artists when you get to a point where you can, comfortably manage multiple artists, because job security is not, it's not guaranteed in the artist management space. So we don't need to continue that conversation here. People that want to be a part of that conversation, we're going to have more. So if you text manager to 844-206-7800, that's just the word manager to 844-206-7800. I'll also send out a text when we do it the next time. And I would encourage artists to be in these conversations too, because, one of the reasons that my label blew up is because, the artists don't even really know what we do on a day-to-day basis. And I don't suggest that you report back everything that you do. Like, hey, I sent out this email, I contacted this person. Like, you don't need to do that. But an artist should have a good understanding of what a manager does, so that they can be appreciated and valued. And that was something that I wasn't even aware of at the time. I was just thinking like, look, I'll do my thing, you guys do your thing, and let's move. But then, I heard Hobson a few times just say, oh, that's Dame, he's just on the computer. And I was like, I was pretty offended by that, because it was like, Dame is just on the computer. Like, what do you think I'm doing? Like, what do you think I'm doing on the computer? So I think there just needs to be more education, better communication, because I see a lot of smart, good quality managers like running away from the music industry. And in the Clubhouse conversation, it was the same thing. It was the same. It was like ego out of control. Just not being professional, not being respected. It's just the same story time and time again of why folks are leaving. And I just think, artists need to know that, because we're going to need each other, to maximize the success.
Well, the turnover is crazy too. I mean, when I was in radio, the turnover for these radio guys at the labels was, it was insane. And they were in a precarious position too, because they had no ownership of anything. Granted, they were salaried, so it's a little different from being a manager who's working entirely on commission from whatever their artist client makes. But it's just, for me as a producer, I've had managers come and go, and I've seen them work with very successful producers who then, got different management and kind of moved on, and they've since moved on to other endeavors. And I, my last manager, I hated to see him leave the music business because he was a great manager, but at the same time, he was getting 20% of whatever I was doing, and I'm like, that's not very much. I mean, I'm thinking in my head, for this to really matter, I need to be making like $500,000 a year off of placements, which is a crazy number. And even then, and I was really resistant to this idea of giving managers, writers shares in music, publishing, because they weren't a part of that process. But at the same time, what makes them a stakeholder? 20%? 20% of theoretically everything, or 20% of theoretically nothing? It could go either way. So in retrospect, I don't think I was a bad client, but I was asking for a lot. I was expecting a lot from these managers. I think all of us were expecting a lot from our managers, and they were getting very little in return. Yeah, it was cool to wire them $1,000 if I got a placement or something, but I mean, that's $1,000. You can't live off that. So,
and I think, sorry to cut you off, but like I think the expectation from the artist side is for this person to kind of be at your beck and call.
Yeah.
And they're getting 20%. Like, especially I was, I came out of business school making six figures, right? So like,
yeah, me too, man. Me too.
So like looking at like, okay, I had to be more than I'm not going to be disrespected making 20% of pretty much nothing in the beginning. Like that just had to be, because I've just heard too many stories from managers. And granted, not all managers are good, and that's why we're having this artist management roundtable. So, we can coach some of them up and groom them to be, better managers. But it's a tough role. It's definitely a tough role.
Well, you didn't let that happen though, because you did become. I mean, what was going through your mind at the time when your brother approached you about getting into the music industry straight out the financial sector? Because I think a lot of people who are a lot less intelligent than you would jump into that situation to say, okay, cool, I'm the manager. I don't know what that means, but let me just manage, and let me just, puff my chest out and get some business cards made that say manager on them, and kind of move funny from that point on. And it's like, that actually isn't sustainable for either party. You're probably going to be a bad manager to the artist, and you're going to be a bad business person and end up burning yourself out because you're not making a cent because you don't know what the hell you're doing. You actually created a label to, I don't want to call it a safety net, but it was, I guess you created infrastructure for yourself that was financially a much safer bet than just being a commission-based worker.
Yeah, no, and that was something that if I was going to invest as much time and money as I did, like that just had to be how it got set up. And to be honest, Hop was resistant to it at first because he was like, I'm not, it was just, Funk Volume was his idea, but there's a difference between having an idea and having like a legit business. Right. But I think he was negotiating, like when we were like talking about it in the beginning, I think artists have this, these crazy scenarios in their minds, these what ifs, right? Like he literally would say, well, what if I sell a beat to Dr. Dre for $100,000? Like, how much do you get of that? And I'm like, we can't negotiate from like these what ifs that you don't even know Dr. Dre. You never even been on the same block as Dr. Dre at the same time. Like you can't negotiate from these ridiculous what ifs, these scenarios. But he was resistant to it in the beginning. But I was like, I'm not. I know what I bring to the table. Like I know what I bring to the table, and I know how hard I'm going to work for this. So like, there's no way I'm going to be in some 20% situation. The last thing I'll say is that, you know, when you're doing a deal with someone, or you're contemplating compensating someone that you really value, it's not always about the one thing. It's not about the one thing they did. It's like, how do you want them to feel longer term, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give somebody a little more to get them more invested in what you're doing? And it's going to produce greater results long term. So I think we're very short sighted sometimes in terms of how we move. And that's one of the ways. It's like, you know, so if the people that you really value and appreciate, like, let them know that through your words, but also through, you know, how they're compensated. Oh, you agreed to pay them $1,000. Well, here's 1,500. You know, because you want them invested, and you want them, because if you think about it, like, if the person's not happy, they're gonna spend the time that they're not with you trying to find other opportunities or to supplement their income, right? Or that person can spend other time thinking about your business, and thinking about how to grow your business because they're a part of something special, right? So think about that when you are compensating the people that you love and that really bring value to your team. That's something that I would say to young creators coming up.
Yeah. I mean, how did that conversation work when you, because obviously you and Hobson ended up becoming partners in the label and co-owners of the label. And, you know, as an artist, I understand that, that anxiety associated with making somebody that isn't a part of the creative process a shareholder in the art. So what were the magic words to make Funk Volume happen?
I don't know there was any. I think that was probably the beginning of the end. I mean, of course, it was a long. We existed for 8 years, but I think that was part of what built over time. Like, just from the beginning, anytime something frustrated him, he probably thought, like, well, I shouldn't have given him 50% of it. And they didn't give me, like, we created it. There was no business to begin with, right? It was an idea. It was like being in high school and you have your little crew at lunchtime. Like, that's what Funk Volume was in the beginning. Like, it was just a name, right? So it wasn't like he gave me 50% of anything. Like, we created a business together. But I think that was part of the building block of the end, right? Because I was just like, look, you want me to help? Like, this is what I need, or because I know what I'm bringing to the table. I know how passionate I am when I jump into things, like, you know, and it's just not worth my time. I got much better options, you know, on the table. You know, so if you guys want me to help, this is what I need. And it, you know, he probably felt like strong armed into the situation.
Sure.
But, you know,
I think a lot of artists feel that way, but did you feel as though you communicated that you were more than just the guy on the computer on a day-to-day basis, or was that a piece of advice you can give someone in your position when they're talking with an artist? Because for me, yeah, that was really like I said, the one, I keep going back to this, the one time I managed an artist and it was a co-management situation. It was like we were every day fighting to convince that artist that we were actually doing things for him. And it's like, I'm not here to tell you every single day everything I did for you. I'm not here to tell you all the emails I answered. I'm not here to tell you all of the research I've done. Hey, I looked up such and such a student organization in this region and I checked out your demographics. I don't need to tell you that, but I did it because what I did tell you was that I got you this event here for X amount of dollars. And that's a result of all of this research and all this work that I've been doing for the past, 14 days that I didn't get a cent off of. And so when the conversation comes up where we're discussing, you as the artist work ethic and maybe doing more, and we're telling you what we need from you, and we're giving you suggestions for how, to make you a bigger success, that gets thrown in our face. What are you actually doing? You're not doing anything. You send out some emails. So I get that, but I wonder if there's, like you're talking about the Funk Volume situation, what can a manager do to communicate their value to the artist on a day-to-day basis? Or is that just something where if it's a red flag, it's a red flag, let them do it themselves?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's having those weekly meetings. Obviously, we touch base pretty much daily, but having those weekly check-ins to kind of go over what's been going on, sharing some insight there. Of course, I'm not going over to his house and opening up my computer and being like, look how many emails I sent out. Look at all the stuff I've done. That's not what it is. But I think Hop, we didn't make money for so much time, right? Like for like two years. So, I think that managers should take an inventory of the things that they're working on should the time come, because I had several conversations, like Hop always. So just a little bit more detail, just specific things that happened. So we worked for 2 years and didn't really make anything, close to 3 years. And then we finally got him out of his deal. And then we dropped the Raw album. And even the Raw album, like it did pretty cool right out the gate, but it didn't do like better numbers until he put out, I think Illmind 4 or something like that. So it was probably out for a year, and then it started doing like a lot better numbers, and like real money was getting generated. And then when he noticed real money was getting generated, so that Raw, so this is going to be too much, but we're already at the end of the episode. But the way that the Hop was signed to the label as an artist, right? So if an album was 50-50, 50 went to the label, 50 went to Hopson, and then me and Hop owned the label 50-50. So it's kind of like 25-25.
So he was getting 75 and you were getting 25.
Right. But for that first album, the deal was supposed to be 50-50, like just 50 to him, because for 2 years, I didn't make a damn thing. And he was like, okay, that makes sense because I've been investing in it. So that deal for that album in particular was supposed to be 50-50. And it was until it started making more money. And then he wanted to change and it's just bad business. It's not fair, but I let him do it because this was an earlier conversation. This was in like 2013, 2014. I didn't want there to be growing friction. So I was just like, all right, we'll treat it like the albums that you're putting out now, and I'll take 25%. But that's bad business. And I probably shouldn't have let him do that. So it was just a sign that he didn't really value, what I was bringing. Another sign, right?
But maybe it would have ended sooner if that.
I mean, because there were definitely more. There were more stuff like that I kind of just let slide.
I think managers do that all the time, though, and I think it really does come down to just this culture and this narrative about management. Because with Funk Volume, you're talking about 6-7 figures that you're dealing with. My story, we're talking about hundreds of dollars. We're talking about artists that are just breaking through a city with no musical presence whatsoever, no music industry presence, nothing, no music economy, and dealing with the same stuff. And so I just don't think that artists, recording artists, producers, whoever, are shown examples of how to interact with management, and so their expectations become really skewed. And that I think that really needs to change. I think the visibility of managers needs to increase. I think the conversations about what they bring to the table needs to be highlighted, and we also need to highlight managers that really go above and beyond, so that we as creative people can start holding them at a higher regard and not just seeing them as a means to an end that are disposable. Because that is a problem. I don't see it as a problem that's specific to, you know, the artists that I work with or any of the funk volume artists. It's just something I see time and time again. And, you know, granted, if a manager doesn't do anything, they don't do anything. And I'm going to be the first one to speak up and say, yeah, this isn't working out. But if they are, then they deserve respect. They deserve a fair deal. And a lot of times they don't get that, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, and I think we give, and I tweeted this the other day, like we give artists too many passes for being artists. Like I think artists get away with stuff, and then people in the industry that aren't the artists will be like, you know, we kind of expect that they're the artists, right? We kind of expect a low ego. We kind of expect them to show up late. We kind of expect like this less of them because they're the talent. And I think we gotta stop doing that. I wish, I mean, I don't think it's gonna happen because, you know, but I wish that we would stop doing that. But
yeah, that's the cultural argument. I mean, the culture is that artists are rock stars and rock stars do stupid shit. They're careless. They break things. They throw fits. These are all things that I dealt with when I was managing.
But it's to their, and it's not just because I want an easier time working with them. It's actually to their own detriment, right? Like if you treat people right, you're going to have a longer career, right? Because you're only going to be hot for some time, and you know eventually you're not going to be a top priority. And if you treat people right, they're going to want to be invested over a longer period of time, and it's to their own detriment that we let them get away with stuff.
No, that's a fact, but we don't see that. That's not romanticized. Treating people right isn't cool. Watching a YouTube video of an artist spazzing out and trashing a hotel room, that's cool.
Right. Yeah, man. It's unfortunate that the ego gets out of control. You know, just I'll end with this, like, you know, because Hop looked at it like he made me rich, right? And it's like I can argue that and it's probably facts that I would be in a much better financial situation had I not started Funk Volume, you know, because if I was making 150 in 2007, right, and I keep progressing and I'm an executive somewhere and, you know, keep make 150, maybe 170 the next year, and then, you know, you get up to the 200, 300,000 and I'm making proper investments. Like you didn't, like, I actually took a risk to do this. So we shouldn't even be having this conversation in the first place about, you know, you making me rich. Like we should just be a team. We created something successful together. You know, you were a huge part of why it was successful. I played my role as well. Let's talk about that, right? Let's take the ego out of it. Because, you know, you wouldn't be as successful as you are today if it wasn't for me. Like it goes hand in hand. And just having that conversation is not fruitful in the first place. If you're having that conversation, then you're already taking an L.
Well, what a blessing it is that you met me and did this MEC thing, and now you're much richer than you ever could have been working in the financial sector.
Nice. I mean, I really enjoy doing this. I you know, I definitely value our relationship, and I appreciate, you know, you know, playing your part in helping grow the MEC. I mean, but this, you know, this is like we talked about in the beginning, like we don't have to do this. This is a passion project for us. We don't get paid a lot of money to do this. You know, we're trying to help up and coming artists avoid the same shit we went through. You know, and I appreciate that people like in at least a small community likes to hear us rant on a weekly basis. So it's, you know, it's kind of fun doing this.
Yeah. Shout out to all the people that love our rants. Appreciate you tuning in to episode number 73 of the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast powered by Beatstars. We are live on Beatstars.live every Monday and every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a totally free music business mentorship program. And if you want text alerts, to remind you when we go live, you just have to text MEC to this number that I always forget,
844-206-7800.
There we go. Appreciate you, Dame. We'll catch you next time. Oh, you got a conference call to be on or something. My bad. We're running late. All right. Peace, everyone.
Peace. All right, man. I'm gonna grab some cereal.